Hey everybody, Toby Potter here, Global Integrity Finance. We are here in Dallas today at the Leverage Con Real Estate Expo, and I'm telling you, there is a plethora of investors, lenders, title companies, attorneys. I mean, if you're a real estate investor or a broker and you're not here, you're missing out. But here's the good news. We have the distinct privilege, honor, I don't know how to say, to have this guy, Robert Greenberg, right here beside us, talking to him today about what they do, why they're here, and how they can help you take your business to the next level. Robert,
Toby, I'm thrilled to be here with you. It's been a good day. And you're right. There is everybody from every walk of life in the private lending business here, for sure. Yeah.
What an amazing show.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Brett really does a nice job.
Yep. I think I saw somewhere we had almost 500 people registered here. I know when we were up on doing our platform earlier, the room was full.
And lunch was great. Like even the food was good.
Food was good. Nothing to complain about. Yeah. Robert, tell us, before we get into where you're at right now.
Yep.
We're going to back this bus up.
Okay.
About a decade. Because I met you, I think at Pitbull.
It was probably, it might have been a Pitbull.
It had to be Pitbull. You were patch of land.
I was. Even before that, my first entry into lending, any kind of mortgage lending, I was never a conventional guy, was 2014 with the Blackstone-backed B2R Finance.
B2R?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Which is where I met Tim Herriage.
You know how many people I now know from B2R? It's like B2R incubated all you guys and then kicked you out into the world.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was the group of people that were assembled, between Beecham and Tennyson, kind of at the top there, and Tim with that group, and Justin Short. I mean, it was just Eli.
And look, everybody's at today. Davon, all those guys.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you, the best of the best came out of that group.
Oh, it was a great group of folks.
Yeah, great group.
And
it was kind of like it was a VOTEC of how-tos, and then kicked you guys out into the world
and
create.
And to watch, it was kind of the beginning of institutional capital coming into this space. So, to have been a part of that and then watch what's happened in the 10, 12 years since has just really been amazing.
It's amazing.
So, that led to, I eventually wound up in an LA-based company, Patch of Land, which ultimately became Patch Lending. Mm-hmm. We were doing crowdfunding, allowing accredited investors to buy fractional pieces of loans we were originating.
So let's talk about that real quick so the audience understands. So basically, you guys would get a loan come in, a property, a borrower, and all that. You would post it into a portal, and investors could invest into that deal and have it syndicated.
That's exactly right. I used to tell people it's sort of like Amazon selling books in the early days, and what we were doing is putting loans on the internet, and you could buy the entire book, which would be the whole loan if you wanted it.
Right.
You could buy a chapter, or you could even buy a word.
A page.
Right?
Oh, word. Yeah, a page.
And our minimum investment was, I'm thinking, I think it was $1,000.
Was it really?
We had some loans that had 40, 50 investors in it.
God.
So that was a headache.
How do you manage
that? That was a headache. Well, we had a really nice, technology-driven platform.
This was back in the 15?
This was, the founders started building this thing. It came about after the Jobs Act, which was a piece of legislation that Obama signed into law in 2012. So they were very quick. They knew the implications of you could wrap a loan up to $1 million and get people to invest in it.
Without any violations of solicitation.
No, it was right. It was perfectly legit SEC. And there was a bunch. There was probably 100-ish crowdfunding sites in the first few years.
Well, wasn't Pierce Street?
Pierce Street was, and they had a slightly different business model. Right. Realty Mogul. Yeah. There was there was just a bunch.
I don't know. That would drive me crazy to have a gal, somebody put $1,000. I got a $300,000 loan here, and you're gonna put $1,000 in because you just want, I don't know, test the waters.
Oh yeah, well, I
mean, there's no return on $1,000.
Well,
you're gonna get $1,005 back.
We were doing loans as low as 12% and as high as like 15.
Right.
So the investors, and we were making, I think, a point on management. So you were getting an 11 yield on it, right? If you put, so you'd make 11% on your $1,000. But a lot of guys, what they did, it was kind of like, in a sense, they were maverick millionaires, like guys with a lot of money, guys, gals. And this was kind of fun money. A lot of people have made money in real estate. They understand how to underwrite. And so it was almost like, it's sort of like what I see. Like I have a mybookie.com account, right? And you familiar with MyBookie?
MyBookie?
MyBookie.com.
You made me choke right there when you said that. MyBookie. So,
and I the other night I bet, halfway through the game, I bet on Denver.
Yeah.
And, just to keep the second half of the game interesting.
Right.
And it wasn't they're small bets.
Right.
And that's sort of like what I think.
If you lose, no big deal. If you win, great.
So a lot of the guys that were doing that, but there were, we had, a few hundred people that had well over 100,000.
Right.
Some even had over $1 million on the platform.
Because it was diversified through 10, 15,
That's
20.
right. And that was really the right way to invest. And don't take down the whole loan. Take a piece of it. Take down 10 or 12.
Put 100,000 in each one of them. Let it ride out.
Yep. And then what happened, of course, is, the Torax got involved and, the rates were coming down. We were down at 8%. So accredited investors making 7 or 6% on this money, didn't make any sense.
Nope.
So, and what we did is we got enamored with, taking rates down, being super competitive. We were primarily making money on points and fees.
Right.
And so we were passing through most of the margin.
I'm closing a deal at 8% and I'm paying my investor 8%. I'm just trying to make my upfront money.
That's right.
I'm getting no override management fee.
Yeah.
But that's that.
And so we kind of let the crowd go by not, we had to because the rates came down and it just didn't make sense. Then, of course, 2020 comes around and COVID hits, and had we nurtured and created that, had that crowd there for us, we would have been, you
would have owned the market.
Right. We would have been able to.
Everybody else shut down. Everybody else walked
away. The big
away.
unknown, though, is what the appetite for our investors on the site. Everybody was afraid. Everybody was scared of what was going on. So I don't know that we would have had as much capital flowing to us as we would have needed, but we would have at least been able to continue doing it. So really interesting business. It was I learned a lot about managing investors on the other side. Definitely gained a lot of experience. My experience up until that point was mostly with the long-term product, the DSCR program. Right. So, that's really where I got very familiar with what we now basically call RTL or fix and flip, short term. Right. And it was just, it was great. It was great fun. That's somewhere along the line where you and I met.
You were at Patch of, and I know the first time I met you, it was Patch of Land, then it was Patch Lending. Shortly thereafter. Yeah,
we were acquired in summer of 21. Yep. And we went through a rebranding.
Yeah, rebranding and all that. And then
like in early 2023, I went over to Lima One to build out that correspondent program.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that took forever. So behind the scenes, were you restricted on why that took so long to launch that?
No, and it was 11 months. You and I called you early on. I knew it would be something you would be interested in.
Yeah.
So and that was really, once we kicked, I started in January. We brought our first lender into the program in November. And by May of 2024, we had 23 partners.
Really?
So I had lined up a lot of people who I knew our program, but it took a long time because we wanted to most of the players that had done a similar program were building it as they go. And so they frustrated.
Irritated originators.
Right. Yeah. And it was, so we built it right. And there was a lot of patience on part of the MFA and Lima. So it was.
There's a rumor out there that you don't want to irritate me because I fire back.
Well, I will. And again, wasn't just you. Right. The right way to do it is get it built, do it well, and that way you're not having to apologize for a shitty experience.
And that's that. Overpromise, our under promise, over deliver versus everybody else. Let's roll it out and we'll fix it.
That's right. Right. And a lot of times, like we were, what's the right instrument? What's the entity going to be? Is it, we had to, it was a lot of the correspondent lenders didn't have a origination channel.
Right.
So there has, Rock, probably the biggest and most successful program in the space, but it wasn't until COVID when they brought house lending into play, but they weren't even able to originate. So the fear that a lot of our partners, the other lenders that we brought in, well, you're just going to steal my business. You're going to steal my customers. Right. Well, if we had one of the largest originating organizations, in the country.
Yes.
So
with Lima One.
With Lima One. Yeah. Lima One, 70 salespeople. We were coast to coast.
Yeah. You guys doing 350 million a month.
So exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to Jeff. I'm like, how's the business? I remember I called him right before he retired. It's probably 4 or 5 months before that. I said, hey man, how's business over there? He goes, oh man, it's really hard right now. I said, oh, I was kind of excited. I'm like, yeah, really? He goes, yeah. I mean, we're probably going to close out at $275 million. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I would die to do $275 million, and you're whining about it
in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was, and it grew. That's an amazing case study too as a business. He went from 20 million right to 200 million.
200 million a month.
And 2 billion.
It's just 2 billion from 20 million a year to 2 billion a year in the first 3 to 5 years, and then took it over 3 billion a year funded loans.
Yeah, and it's so then, but takes us to Turnus, right?
Yeah. Now we're caught up.
So Tim Herriage, North Texas guy, been flipping houses here.
Known Tim long before I ever knew you guys. So Tim used to put on meetups.
Yeah,
and expos like this.
The REI Expo.
Yep. And we used to go to them, and this was in 2015. It was the biggest in the area.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it died.
Well, he ended up having to sell it.
Yeah.
The Blackstone guys, running the B2R money.
Yeah.
They saw that as a conflict. And they didn't, because he was managing director of at the B2R.
Oh, I didn't realize he was still at B2R.
So he had to sell it while he was at B2R. So he ended up selling it to the Think Realty guys. That's who that became the Think Realty conference.
Really?
Eddie
Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah. It was one of the most, because it was right here in Dallas.
Yep.
We were just local, and so he was one that we were building our business. Him and Phil and Chanel Grove was doing their deal. So those were the 3 to 5 events we did every month.
Yep.
And loved it. So now Tim sold that. Now you're at Turnus.
So Tim started Turnus in January of 24.
Yep.
Turnus is a Latin phrase for threefold.
I knew it was a three-pronged something, but I didn't know what it meant. Yeah.
And we, there's a couple different threes: speed, transparency, dependability. A lot of investors get into this for cash flow and for a paycheck, and also to build a lasting legacy for them. Generational wealth. So that's kind of our commitment to the investors in this space. We also, Warren Buffett likes to talk a lot about invest in businesses you understand and know.
Yep.
And so we have done a Reg CF offering. Now we're raising $5 million, 10% of equity in our business, and allowing our customers, our borrowers, to be owners in our company.
In that.
So,
nice.
And we're really excited about the potential for raising a lot of retail cash from people who understand how to make money in this business and want to not only be our customer, but be a shareholder and an owner of our business.
Well, and now they're investing in their own success.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. They're investing in the lender that they're depending on as a partnership.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a unique idea. We're really also just very focused on building. We want to build balance sheet. We're doing balance sheet lending now, primarily on the RTL side. We're not balance sheeting the DSCR program, but we want to be in control. We want to be able to give the borrowers a lender that they deserve to have.
Yeah.
The amount of institutional capital in this space has kind of made everything that everybody's doing look very
commercial.
similar. It's a very commoditized product,
Too
right?
commercial.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this gives us a little bit of control. We're able to close very quickly. I mean, we've closed some loans in 24 hours.
Nice.
We like to say we can close in 5 days, and we can. Often it's the borrower that's not ready.
Right.
So, without placing blame.
So are you doing appraisals and backgrounds and all that? Or
it depends on the, if the project and the borrower qualify for what we do on our balance sheet. No, we won't pull credit. We won't do an appraisal, and we'll do up to 100% loan to cost. And we're very comfortable with that. If the property has to come back, we feel like we can manage through it. We've got a network of folks that we need to get rid. We need to sell that property, or we could finish it out. And if there's generally if you underwrite it properly, there's going to be enough left where you can come out. Yep.
So are you guys just in Texas? Where are you guys living?
No, we're really kind of national. There's about a dozen states that we're not licensed yet.
Right.
So we're not able to do loans in those dozen states, but we're primarily focused on the non-judicial states. So there's 22 states that we're willing to do. We're doing a wholesale product, which is basically a 60-day loan.
Wow.
Wholesale to retail.
Yeah.
And we're doing also transactional funding, which is the wholesaler.
Yeah, wholesale.
So A to B to C.
Yep.
And so both those are a little bit unique.
Yes. Very.
And then of course we're doing bridge and fix and flip. And then the long term, we'll also do long term portfolio loans.
Yeah.
So we're not doing any multifamily. We're not doing any new construction, although we'd like to.
All 1 to 4.
It's all 1 to 4. We can do on the long term thing. We can do more up to 9 doors.
Up to 9 units on the DSCR.
Yeah.
And then are you guys working exclusively with brokers or direct lenders? I mean, direct
we'll do both. We're doing broker business as well as direct. I'd say our skew is much heavier direct. Mm-hmm. Just basically our marketing and our, the Tim's influencer marketing on social media.
Yep.
We just have a kind of a direct line to a lot of folks in the investment space that are direct borrowers. But we're happy to work with brokers.
So with the brokers, are you white labeling or are they just on the HUD?
No,
they're just on the HUD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a true broker relationship.
Yeah. You're not white labeling. You're not.
No, we're not looking to,
No, and I think that's, you got a lot of brokers that whine and cry about that. Oh, you're going to steal my borrowers. They're going to know they can go directly to you. I'm like, you know what? If my loan officers can steal your borrower, you're not doing a very good job. Because, we've had loan officers come and work for us and then leave and go work somewhere else. And my officer's like, well, what if they take our clients? I'm like, then they deserve them.
Right.
They deserve them. If they can take the client with them, then they did what they were supposed to, which was build a relationship.
Yep.
So nobody's doing business with Global because of our name. They're doing business because of who we are individually.
Yep.
And that's who they follow. So I've never stressed over that. And brokers, well, I won't do business with you because you don't white label. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Although I will say too, and I'm sure you agree. I know how you run your business. You put systems and process and underwriting in place. And so even if you've got a really strong relationship, depending on where that loan officer might go, he may not wind up with somebody,
Right.
When you build confidence that we are going to get your loan done, and that's what it's really important to us. We stand for speed, transparency, dependability. We tell you we're going to do it. We're going to get your loan. We're going to get your loan closed. We teach our guys, don't say, give a quick no.
Right. Right.
If it's not something we're going to get done, be upfront about it. Say no, and don't say yes until you're absolutely certain this is a deal we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because if our guys say yes, we're going to close that loan.
Good. Good. Oh shoot! I had something else I was going to say, Robert, and then I went blank. That's what happens when you get old.
Oh, I know it.
So how can people find you?
So Turnus.com. That's probably the best way. Just looked at some updates to our website yesterday, so I'm super excited to see some updates on our new website.
You guys launched something 2 days ago.
What did we do 2 days ago? I'm trying to.
My team was telling me that they saw that Tim just made an announcement 2 days ago.
What?
Did he forget to tell you about it?
Yeah, probably. No. We are, in March, what's that?
Second liens?
No, I don't know what that would. In March, we're about to come out. We're about to launch a debt fund. So we're raising money for a debt fund. We've been toying around with something that we want to call Quick Turn.
Yeah.
And, maybe quick spelled in 4 letters.
Unique. Yeah.
And turn being TERN.
Yeah. So it ties in.
And
quick turn.
But that's basically the
same thing.
The fix and flip product that will close in 5 days or less.
And
because we're not pulling credit, we're not waiting on an appraisal.
Ever? You're not getting appraisal ever?
But we're using Richer Values has that report. I know you're familiar with it. So we're not going blind.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty confident that that's we're getting good valuation out of that. And we're not, it's just because you apply doesn't mean it's going to happen. Right. So we're putting good underwriting behind it. So not everything's going to qualify, but if we like the project, if we like the property, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
good.
It's, I've heard this term common sense lending.
Yep.
Forever.
Yep.
And
does the deal make sense?
Yeah.
Period.
And with the infusion of institutional cash, common sense isn't necessarily the rule of the day anymore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, things.
Well, unless you're balance sheeting, there's so many restrictions.
That's
and
right.
You knew that at MFA. You guys balance sheet but didn't, so you still had guidelines you had to fall into.
It was balance sheet, but it was, whoever owns the money gets to make the rules.
Make the rules.
Right? So,
the golden rule.
That's right.
The golden rule. The man that has the gold makes the rules.
100%. That's
exactly and that's when you're looking at, having to close fund and sell off, we have to look at, will they buy that loan if we underwrite it correctly? And if we don't, we're stuck with it. So it's a different mindset.
Yep.
With what you guys are doing, you're able to really be flexible. Does it make sense? Is there common sense theory into this?
Well,
and do we trust the sponsor to perform?
And that's the key for us. I mean, we have got to stay vigilant and disciplined because our performance has got to stay strong.
Yeah.
We're going to grow by raising retail capital, right?
And if
we
can't perform,
that capital's not going to be
gone.
But if we can continue doing what we're doing, the money, especially at these kind of yields, we will raise a lot of money.
Yep.
Really confident in that. And again, if your investors know the space and have made a lot of money in the space, and they're looking for a place to,
park some money.
Our debt fund is going to have a 6-month lockup. So if you need to park some money from a deal you just cashed out of, and you're not sure what you're going to do right away, park it with us for 6 months, make money on it, and you pull back.
Well, and the good thing is if they dumped it into an LLC and then that LLC invests in you, there's no capital gains on it.
There you go.
So it's a tax savings.
Yep.
So, hey, everybody, it's my buddy Robert. Look him up. If you like what you heard, like, share, subscribe. Hook us up. Go to his website. This guy's got the stuff. Been around the industry forever. Knows it from the top to the bottom. Love him to death. And here's one thing I'll tell you. One thing that impressed me with Robert is that when we first met him, I might have met him for 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour, I don't remember. But the next time I met him, 30, 45, 60 days later, he remembered my name. He remembered my wife's name.
Yep.
The guy could tell me what I told him last time. The guy has an elephant memory. So amazing.
Well, the memory's not so great anymore.
Yeah, but now you've gotten a little older.
No, it's...
You're
a super memorable guy.
Very.
I enjoy getting to know you.
Not always in the positive.
You take a lot of pride in that.
That's right. I do. Once you build a reputation, you got to stand behind it.
Absolutely.
Right. Hey, guys, my buddy Robert.
Thanks, folks.
Let's go. Appreciate you, Robert.
Yep.
Thank you, bud.
Thanks, man.